Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. This episode of Geek Tank Radio is brought to you by the Invisible Sweet Shop, home of the 6,000-calorie Invisible Hot Fudge Sundae. You don't need napkins in here. That's the one upside here. But
you gotta search this thing out by smell, though.
Yeah.
What's the color when it, what?
Oh, God.
Max always goes to that question. So.
You should just stick to cool talk.
Leave it to Max to drag everything into the ground. So anyway, all right.
I blame his genetics.
I found this sponsor in honor of Allan, and he has nothing to say. Thanks, Allan. I mean, it's a food reference and everything.
You haven't shut up long enough for him to say anything.
Anyway.
What? I was eating.
Okay.
I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I'm not wasting this.
Okay. Anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson, here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alissa Diggs, and our pal Max over there behind the glass, and our buddy Allan Gilbert. I went out of order. Why did I go around the table? You've thrown me out of whack here, Allan. But I think I blame allergies. I don't know about you guys. This has been the worst allergy season I've ever had.
I swear. And this past week.
Yes,
Knock
has
on
been
wood,
the worst
I've been
one.
fine.
Really?
But I don't go outside that often.
Oh, we'll see. Okay, there you go.
Yeah. No, but this past week especially has been just
It's been
horrendous.
rough.
Yeah, it's been
rough.
pretty bad, but so if we sound a little nasally, just bear with us. So, but Max, a little later in the show, I guess this is one of your deep cuts. It's there's a anniversary coming up, sort of a.
I don't want to divulge anything further.
Okay.
We didn't agree to
I would
this.
call it a legend of geekdom as well.
Okay, yeah, no, I think you guys will all approve.
I'm going to go ahead and apologize to our fan base.
No, you'll approve of this. I guarantee
I'm
you're going to like this
excited.
conversation. But Max likes to hit us blind with this stuff. So, but Brandon, I'm really looking at you. I'm experiencing something, and I feel like we should roundtable this.
Okay.
And I think you're the man to get information from. But okay, as we've said,
Right.
okay. I think all of us. I know personally, I have a pretty big comic book collection. Back when I was your age, Allie, before I had a family and, responsibilities, I was at the comic book store every week. I had a pull list. If you don't know what a pull list is, it's like there's
I know
titles
pull
that they
lists.
save.
I know that.
How are you going to listen to this show and not know what a pull list is?
I don't know if kids today would know what a pull list is, but you go to the comic. Well, go ahead, Brandon.
All right, so it's when you go to your comic dealer, that horrible merchant behind the counter that gives you the cardboard crack.
Right.
And you tell him, all right, this is the book, and this is the book, and this is the book. I can't miss this book anytime a new one comes out. So they build you a list, and usually once you have so many titles, they start giving you discounts, which just encourages you to get more because they
Right.
are your modern day geek drug dealer.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you don't miss a single issue because every so often you get something where like Superman 237 for no reason whatsoever sells out completely. You want to make sure you got your copy.
Yeah, and especially during those historic moments like when it was the death of Superman, a bunch of people were waiting in line for a comic. I didn't.
Right.
I already had it pulled in advance,
Yeah.
and I just went whenever it was convenient. So
I got a question for you guys as comic collectors. Is it kind of like the stock market every now and then where it's like you just never know when certain things are going to sell high or sell low?
it was in the
Well,
90s, and I think it's different now because
It's,
it's.
It's more in line with a stable investment now, as long as you can find someone who will purchase it from you.
Kind of makes
You can sit around with an $8 million valued comic book, and if nobody will buy it from you, it's
Right.
only is worth that dime that's on the cover.
makes me think of how Legos nowadays are becoming more of a nest egg. But I digress. You can go back to
No,
comics.
but you're
No,
right.
you're
Max.
absolutely right,
That's
though.
exactly right on point.
Oh, no. Legos have reached a point to where there is a Lego smuggling underground.
Right.
You got
That's how big Legos have become.
You got yourself them premium minifigs from '74.
See, I think you guys just realized that that's getting mainstream. That's always been the underground, though.
Yeah, but I mean, organized
Seriously.
crime is into Legos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how you could get things like your and I'm not joking, guys. This is not satire.
No,
They
we're
are
being dead serious.
Bootleg, crooked,
Yes.
crooked Legos that were designed for like the haunted house set. You know, if you didn't buy if you bought the haunted house set and you lost one of those like crooked window shades or whatever,
Yeah.
it's gone. You can't go to the Lego store and just get a
new
handful
one,
of those.
right.
Joe,
You
I just
have-
took your show on a tangent.
I don't mind. This is actually on topic.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to get to. So.
Okay.
Okay, so basically, and because collectibles have steered into the same thing, but basically, back in the day, I would even say a better, more wholesome time to read comics in terms of quality and just affordability
That's
and
true.
enjoyment.
That's absolutely true.
Okay, so I had a pull list, and I would go into the store, and so like if that hot title came out, I didn't have to panic because my comic book dealer pulled it to the side. And generally, if there was a run, like perfect example is my favorite title, Legends of the Dark Knight. It would be maybe a 5-part series. Well,
Right.
it came out 1 month, and then the next month it comes out, and in 5 months you've got the entire series.
And let's step back. It wasn't so much that it came out every month. It came out every 4 weeks.
Yeah, actually, even less than a month.
Right.
So within a reasonable amount of time, you had time to collect a story and still stay engaged and actually remember what the story's about. But it's a lot different now.
Well,
It's
yeah.
like shockingly different.
I think I know where you're headed with this conversation now. Are you having that burnout anticipation?
I think there's something going on. I guess I'd call it a fatigue or something. It's one thing to wait a month. It's one thing, but then it's another thing if you got to wait 6 months in between an issue, and do you even care anymore?
Right,
And
right.
there's a title that I'll just say there's a title right now that I was really interested in. It's called The Gargoyle of Gotham. Raphael Grandpa, he wrote it and did the illustration. It's great, but I'm really sick of waiting around. Alan, this is going to take over a year by the time I get 4 issues.
Yeah.
I mean, what gives?
It has become a common practice with premium format books like The Gargoyle of Gotham, where they, it used to be you want to do a miniseries, the writer had to have the miniseries completely written. It had to get to the artist, and you had at least 2 completely finished issues before they put out the first one.
Right.
Or before they would solicit the first one, which meant you still had 3 months before that came out. Nowadays, it's like, Raphael Grandpa's going to make a book, and we're going to solicit it, and it's going to come out in June. And then in June, you get the first one, and he hasn't even started on the second one by the time you've got the first one.
It's not good. I think, and there's going to be long-lasting consequences, and we're going to talk about that when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. They're not afraid to call him Voldemort. The Geek Patrol is back.
I kind of am now.
Well, I mean,
I've
he takes
never
it
been
personally.
afraid.
Alan's always called him Tom.
Yeah. Well, they're kindred spirits.
How do you
His
say
old
his name in
friend.
parcel tongue? I'll believe that.
He's one of his few friends, so. Anyway, welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alissa Diggs and our Allan. You know what's throwing me off? Let me read
It's because
this.
I'm way over here.
I'm putting Allie in the wrong order. Okay, I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and Alissa Diggs and our buddy Max over there behind the glass.
There you go.
It doesn't flow right when I do, when I put, okay, whatever.
Okay.
Let's just get to it.
You did so good.
Yeah, we'll get a clean opening one day, but it isn't going to be today. Hey, you guys, so before the break, if you're just tuning in, I know it may still, if you're new to Geek Tank Radio, it might surprise people to know that although we all have probably pretty good size, respectable size comic book collections, we don't collect a whole lot of modern comics because there's a many factors. For one thing, the prices are, I have a family,
The prices are insane. Storage of them is ridiculous.
Yeah, and I'm not as thrilled with some of the content. I find some of the content just boring, and they drag story. There's been too many stories where you could have done it in 4 issues, and they made it a 12-issue series, and that irritates me.
It's like, come on, guys. And I'm gonna blame Brian Michael Bendis for the decompressed storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't believe me, go and read the first volume of Ultimate Spider-Man. It takes him 3 issues to kill Uncle Ben.
Right. Yeah, and it's obvious. It's just what they call it, padding the runtime or whatever. But
well, they got to that point where they realized that you can't do solo issues. You have to tell a story, and if you want to sell trades, you have to have a 6-issue story at least in order to warrant the trade, because they don't want a 3 issues trade and then 2 just standalones in that book.
Well, I'm questioning the entire
You can't
business
sell that.
model here because I'm trying to give them my money. It's like,
Right.
shut up and take my money. There's a story, perfect example, this Gargoyle of Gotham story. I've been very excited about it. I read the first 2 issues. They're great. I've reread them by Raphael Grandpa, but between the last you got to wait 4 to 5 to sometimes 6 months in between issues, and it makes no sense to me that they would start releasing issues without even finishing the rest. It's kind of like
Right.
with the way they did the sequel trilogy in Star Wars, but I don't want to digress. But that business model is bound to have problems because I'm a customer that wants to give them money, and
Right.
they're turning me away. So what does that do to the casual customer? I mean.
All right, bear with me on this.
No.
No, here we go.
You know where I'm
Segue
going. You
master.
know where I'm going.
Okay.
Okay. Brandon, you ever been to a Sonic?
I have been to a Sonic.
You've been to a Sonic. You wander around the parking lot until they feed you.
No.
How does it work?
I sit, I push a button, I tell them what I want.
Oh, all right. So, Brandon, you have been trained how to get a Sonic.
Yeah.
All right. Joe, this is where an industry has forgotten the basic number one tenet. They aren't even bothering to live up to their own training.
Yeah.
All right, translation.
They've trained you to be there monthly to pick
Yes.
up your book, and they haven't trained their talent to turn something in monthly so that they can publish the book.
Joe, if you're feeling a little bit of comic book ennui, have you ever really considered manga?
No, I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think a lot of
Yeah.
manga and everything is starting to become even more popular.
I
It's
still
different,
think
but-
that Max has investments with some of these manga publishing
Oh, yeah.
companies.
All right. Well,
yeah, but if you're hostile or at least indifferent towards your fan base, I just think there's going to be big problems down
Right.
the road.
Well, Joe, that is my whole point here, in the simple fact that we have an industry that spent, the last 80 years?
Yeah.
I'm looking at Brandon,
Yeah.
80, 90
Yeah,
years
yeah.
at least. We had a floor plan, we had a format, we had a standard production,
Right.
and then we had the next tier up.
Yeah.
You had your grade A, which was your regular production. Then you had your double A, which was your special annual event.
Right.
And then above that, we really went for the high-end stuff.
Yeah. And
the thing is-
that's your premium format hardcover. The whole story's in one book. Bam.
Yeah.
Bang, there you go. Did that work?
It worked fine.
Okay.
There were times when there were delays, but they would also come out and tell you what the delay was. When George Perez's books started getting late, they talked
Right.
about his illness and the fact that he was still hand drawing everything, but it was taking longer.
Right.
You know what?
There's-
And we were good
and
with
if you say that, I
And
can respect that.
If you
Yeah.
say, Raphael Grandpa is working on this, and it's like, and you at least give regular updates, you can usually keep your fan base, pretty relaxed.
Why not just wait till it's all done and then release it like every month?
Because
and
apparently,
just-
when we did that when Kevin Smith was writing Green Arrow, it still didn't work.
I don't know. It seems to me though, what's going to happen is the product might become rushed. Maybe the last 2 installments won't be nearly as good.
Which we have seen happen in various other things where the art is a little subpar because
right.
you have an irate fan base.
Well, it got me thinking. What would the world? Okay, if this is just one of the issues going on, it's like there's nothing saying that the comic book industry is going to continue indefinitely. In 10 years, what if there is no comic book
True.
industry?
I'm
What
gonna-
does the world look like?
I'm going to
you know?
step outside of the comic industry for a second, and Joe, you're a contractor.
Yeah.
Now, when you give someone a time frame on, you completing a job for them, you do everything in your power to stick to that time frame.
Right.
We've seen the bad actors out there in contracting who come in and they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna have that on back order. The thing's been sitting in his truck for 6 months, but it's
Right.
on back order apparently still. We've seen those kind of things. We don't deal with those kind of people. But eventually, you're not going to want to deal with DC or Marvel or Image if that's all you get is, man, I bought books 1 and 2 within 2 months apart. It's been 3 years and I haven't got
Right.
book 3 yet.
Yeah. It just
still
can't
on the
work.
schedule,
so.
though.
I don't know, but I think that's just something that was just something to keep an eye on, and it might even be a factor if we see the comic book industry just continue to, I don't know, tick off their fan
Well,
base. I just don't think that's a good.
At this point, they're just IP farms for other media anyway.
Well, it seems like it, but I don't know. I mean, there's still something about a comic book it's a unique experience, and I hope it continues. I just want them to do better. So, anyway, we have something. We're going to turn the corner when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio as we celebrate an infamous holiday.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
Are they saying run away?
Oh, my favorite rabbit.
Bunch of coward. Oh, the rabbit. Okay, yeah. I can get away from that thing
Trust
quick,
me,
too.
you'll know in a second why this is relevant.
Okay, sounds good. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and Alissa Diggs and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And Max, you told me something. I'm the only one in the know about this, but there's a infamous anniversary that we're going to be celebrating this week. And I thought you'd be the man to discuss it.
And let's just call it what it is.
And now, a legend in geekdom.
Okay.
I just got to push those buttons, man.
He hasn't been able to push a button today. So, what do you got, man?
Well, on May 3rd, 1978, we celebrate a very interesting, infamous occasion.
Alan's nodding.
Yes, I'm pretty sure he knows. Well, back on May 3rd, 1978, is when the first spam email was sent. But before I talk about that, I wanted to give you a brief history before the first spam email was sent, because spam actually goes back a century further.
Okay. Wow. Spam.
But first, let's define what the word spam means. It's simply a mass transmission of unwanted messages, and the term itself actually comes from Monty Python's Flying Circus sketch, where the Vikings were screaming spam, spam, spam. And that's because, all of their shouting drowned out any other desired communication. And so people equated the spam to the messages themselves. And so if you want to get really interesting, Joe, spam actually goes back all the way to 1864.
Wow.
When we had the telegraph. Back in the day, messages were sent that were rather dubious investment offers that were sent to wealthy Americans via telegraph. So just imagine that ... opportunity to go with carpetbag in the South and everything for reconstruction.
So you're taking a trip on the Titanic, or a more
So
successful
a Nigerian
liner.
prince wants to sell you horse insurance after your warranty is up. Yeah.
This is shocking to me because I've always thought spam was an acronym for something, but
No.
it's that basic. It's just more or less. And spam gets a bad rap. I mean, it did save some. It's a way to eat, I guess. If
It
you
fed
don't
the Americans during the war.
Right. Go ahead, Alex.
Was what's his face running through the streets saying the British are coming? Would that be spam?
Paul Revere.
Yeah.
Not if
Well,
it's,
that was
not if
wanted
it's a
information.
genuine
What if someone didn't?
alert. That is like the emergency broadcast system
Okay.
on horseback.
And there was a
Hey,
teenage
sometimes
girl
I
that
feel like
also
those
did
are
that too
spam.
during the American Revolution, which is pretty interesting.
So
She's like the female equivalent to Paul Revere.
Let's go, Queen.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
but correct me if I'm wrong. Did we even have email in 1978? That's what I
It
don't
was a
get.
little different. You might not qualify it as email today, but it was a corporation funded by the Department of Defense called ARPANET. And ARPANET, there was a man who wanted to try to take advantage of this opportunity by the name of Gary Thurick. And he sent out this, let's just call it emails for easy sake. He sent out about 400 to 2,600 people emails about, oh, look what I'm doing with my digital computer corporation. And he sent out all these emails to these people, and he claimed that it generated about $12 million in sales. However, all the people who received the email were really irritated and contacted the Department of Defense. And I guess it worked well enough because spam wasn't sent for another decade until when the term spam actually came to be was in 1993. It was used for Usenet, which is a news corporation thing for the internet. It kind of imagine a hybrid of email and web forms. And so about someone, this wasn't like a guy being nefarious. He accidentally there was this system that a moderation system that allowed you to regulate how much you posted. Well, this guy named Richard Depew messed up. He accidentally had a bug in his software, and he accidentally sent 200 plus messages to his discussion group. And that's where the
Oh.
term spam came about, because everyone was like, man, this is really annoying.
You know what I don't get though is spam. Has there ever been a golden era of spam where it actually worked and it made
No.
and it benefits? So what's the point? Why do we still get it?
Well,
Like I don't even look at
Because
half
people
my
are still
emails.
scamming.
why do we get
Yeah.
junk email? Why don't we get junk mail?
Well, who's
You know, I have 22,000 unread emails.
Huh, me too. I'm like Allie and I are the
Because
same.
one day I might need a coupon code, so I won't unsubscribe from any of them.
Can I talk about a really interesting point in spam history that you
Okay.
might appreciate, Joe? And it just makes you hate lawyers even more. Back in April of 1994, on a day that will live in infamy, Usenet again was the culprit. It was overwhelmed by an advertisement for this immigration law service of Lawrence A. Cantor and Martha S. Siegel. And despite the ensuing outcry, lawyers defended their practice. And you know what they did?
What?
They even wrote a book about it. And it was called How to Make a Fortune on the Information Superhighway. And thus
Yeah.
spam was going mainstream, baby.
Gosh. Okay. Well, I don't even know why spam is still a thing. I guess you said it
Okay,
works, right?
So here's the thing.
I don't get it. But
Somebody you send out a mass email
okay.
to a ton of people who have once upon a time given the email address to the MCFC.
Yeah.
Out of that, you get 10 people who actually buy tickets. That technically means it worked.
Okay, but then you tick off a bunch of people too,
Right.
Or
And they
see-
show up and buy tickets at the door and then complain about the fact you gave them an email. But it's still in their brain.
Is there a good spam? I mean, there's some I get emails from the Memphis Astronomical Society, and I actually like them
yeah,
because
but
they give
you
me
have-
information
You have
about.
signed up for a newsletter
Okay.
with the Memphis Astronomical Society. While you could totally consider a newsletter to be spam, it's not actually, because this is a service you have requested.
Are we
If
getting,
you've subscribed to something, it's not spam.
are we getting philosophical here about the
Yes.
metaphysics of spam?
Yes, yes.
I love it.
And if you grill it just right, it's amazing.
I guess.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
No.
Because
Yeah.
once you grill it to the right point,
No.
you have jerky.
Spam and rice
no,
with a
no,
little
you
fried
don't.
egg.
You have
That's
shoe leather.
good,
Oh.
dude.
Alan thinks he's too good for spam.
He is. I will flat
But I've
just
also,
tell you.
But I've also seen some of the refuse you've eaten.
It's true. However, all right. Well, if you think of it this way,
need to go to lunch.
a commercial on TV was paid for and put there. Spam was where somebody could just sit at their computer and just slam out millions and millions and millions of mass-produced messages without going through anybody.
And that's why we have the Canned Spam Act these days. And that's a real
The
law.
Canned Spam
And
Act.
it's actually an acronym. And if you don't mind me before the break, it stands for the Controlling the Assault of Non-Solicited Pornography and Marketing Act of 2003.
Okay.
Okay,
Wow.
that's a wrap.
Yeah, we better end it there. Boom.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
Those of you who volunteered to be injected with praying mantis DNA, I've got some good news and some bad news. Bad news is we're postponing those tests indefinitely. Good news is we've got a much better test for you. Fighting an army of mantis men. Pick up a rifle and follow the yellow line. You'll know when the test starts.
I personally have no problem with praying mantis DNA. They're a very relaxed species. They're kind of calm. I think they'd be good for humanity.
Do I get to rip off the head of my husband?
I was about to say, Joe, mellow? No.
Okay. I don't know.
They're
That's where Allie's
vicious.
mind went. Anyway, welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. Disturbing. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and Alissa Diggs and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And it's an unusual, not unusual, it's just a sort of wide-ranging topic of discussion today. I was bemoaning the fact that I've had to wait months in between issues of The Gargoyle of Gotham, a comic that I'm actually enthusiastic about collecting, but my enthusiasm is wearing away because it's taken forever for these issues to come out, and I think that's going to be a problem for the comic book industry.
I agree.
Max has been giving us a history of spam, but it's interesting because in this room we have such a wide range of ages that the topics. It's because I'm thinking of Alan. I was thinking of the spam that came by telegraph. Alan's the only one here that can remember the telegraph, right?
Mm-hmm.
He
I
could-
don't even know how that would work. How
he
do
could
you get a
remember when
spam message?
Spam was delivered by pigeons.
It was.
He
It
was
was.
there for that.
Carrier
However,
pigeon.
what you guys truly have forgotten was fax spam.
Oh, what is fax
No, I
spam?
haven't, because when I worked in fulfillment, we had a fax machine, and that's how we got our orders. It's like, we need 400 of this book put together. We need 300 of this pamphlet sent out. And then all of a sudden you'd get this thing that was telling you about,
that free trip to Hawaii.
the free vacation or the
there was always the vacation somewhere.
The various, pharmaceuticals. I don't want to fax about pharmaceuticals.
Oh, yeah.
How many trees died for spam faxes?
But there were so many fax machines for a short period of time that they would just have the auto dialer calling, and then you would answer the phone. If you worked at a company, you would answer the phone, and you would get the. It's kind of like, somebody's trying to spam us.
Well, go ahead.
And you'd hang up.
And I have a question for the panel.
Okay.
At what point?
'Cause I had a question, too.
At what point does spam become scam? Because I feel like the line is very blurred.
I think when you
The
give
moment
them
it showed up.
financial information.
Yeah,
I
actually,
think the moment you exchange
no.
that number.
Alan, I disagree. It doesn't become scam until you open the email. And that's why you never open an email from a source you don't recognize.
Well, have we got to a point in technology? I guess what I'm waiting for is, when do we get to a point in technology where we just don't, spam doesn't become part of our life? Like, can you filter it out?
Do you not have Gmail?
I have Gmail, but I still get garbage that I don't want. And I mean, I'm like you. I've got like 20,000 emails.
You just got to
that
unsubscribe.
All right, well, keep in mind,
Yeah,
guys.
but who wants to do that?
Yeah,
I'm saying I want to automatically
There's
push a button.
services.
I'm
There's
gonna say-
services you can sign
Okay.
up for.
An easy way to unsubscribe to all that?
Yeah.
Don't have it.
Answer your emails when they come in, because you can filter it where you only get maybe 200 in the span of a day. And
But
you know
why
how
do I
easy
got to
it
go to
is?
that work?
You know how easy it is to erase that? You hit the button that says edit at the top, hit select all, scan through real quick for anything you might know, take it off of them, and then delete.
What about these texts that people want to buy my house and they want all these other things?
I reply back, $5 million cash. You've got a deal.
That reminds me of that episode
have
of
not been
That reminds
taken
me
up
of that
on it.
episode of Parks and Rec where there's a guy that's so lonely that he actually replies to his spam emails.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. Patton Oswald's guy or something.
Yeah.
So,
I
but,
get phone calls from my grandfather, and I'm like, try heaven next time.
Gosh. Okay. Well, I want technology that's going to streamline and give me less, really. I just don't want all that stuff.
That's not going to happen. Because it is a numbers game.
They want that money, baby.
Exactly as we used to call it, the old pump and dump, the phone room. Dial that baby, paper pirates. Boom da boom da boom. Keep it going, keep it going. You keep dialing that phone. Sooner or later, you're going to get somebody that'll say yes.
Eventually, someone will buy 6,000 counterfeit detector pins from you because they need to populate all the post offices in New York.
Well, this is a very bleak future you guys are laying out. I like to believe that maybe, we can get this fixed. But
All right.
No, have you seen the nature of mankind? This is the nature of mankind.
We're going to live in a Wally world.
Yeah,
Okay?
not to crush the aspirations of a certain co-host. We will never live in a Star Trek world.
No.
I guess not. So,
I'd be
hey,
cur-
go ahead, man.
No, you can go ahead.
Well, you know what we will be living in next week is a Batman world. Why don't we remind people where we're going to be?
It's totally going to be a Batman world. We will be at BeyondCon next weekend.
It is. I got the address.
You got the address?
So here we go. May 4th.
I don't have my card on me.
BeyondCon, May 4th. It's the first one, so we call it the inaugural, not the annual.
I beat that into your head, haven't I?
Right. 1879 North Germantown Parkway. It's at the Christian Life Center building, which, let's face it, a lot of these churches have they have extra meeting space and everything. So
they have huge gymnasiums.
Yeah. So Rodney and Diana Shiflett, who run the Batcave Treasures and Collectibles over there in Bartlett, this is their first one, but it's not their first rodeo. They've put on shows before.
Yeah, they've put on shows before. They've attended shows before. This isn't even their first store. They opened their first one, in Plano, Illinois?
Yeah, right outside of Chicago.
Right outside of Chicago, which immediately makes him a kindred spirit with Joe.
Well, not necessarily. They could have been White Sox fans. So,
nobody's a White Sox fan.
They could have been, but are they?
But they are devoted Cubs fans. Yeah. But anyway, we'll be there. I'm sure there'll be things. We'll have a little swag in the tent. And
I'm thinking there will be something.
Okay, and so get there. It's going to be affordable. They want you to bring your family, and like I said, 9 to 5. So it's kind of one of these, get in there, buy your stuff, check it out.
And get in there early enough that you can check out Matt Bauer's booth and pick up the Beyond Con issue of his comic Memphis. He did a specific comics for Beyond Con.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool vendors. There's a lot of cool artists, and we always, that's what we kind of live
Ennis,
for.
who voices Scooby-Doo, will be there.
Right.
Ooh, yay.
He's got a big booth, too.
He really does.
Yeah, I will give him
love
that. He has an
Scooby-Doo.
impressive booth. So Beyond Con, the inaugural one, and hopefully it'll be an annual event. But I think it's like $10 for a ticket. It's pretty. I don't know what it is, actually. I think it's affordable, though.
It was affordable.
Anyway, well, I hope today's show was affordable. We try to keep it so.
We keep it pretty cheap.
But either way, the show's over. It's time to get out of here. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Allan Gilbreth.
I'm
Alyssa
Maximilian.
Diggs.
Oops.
Go ahead, Brandon.
And I am Brandon Olmsted, asking politely for your email address because I have a special offer for you.